ath-x is back for 2024 after a successful first season last year, where it hosted 5 events in Liverpool, Farnborough and 3 in Birmingham. I attended its debut in Birmingham last summer as a spectator, and I was instantly impressed by the organisation of its debut. Later in 2023 in December, I teamed up with my wife to compete in the ath-x Open division to get a first-hand taste of the experience. And I'll link to that video in the description if you want to go back and see how we got on. But before we get too much further into things, just a recap of what ath-x actually is. ath-x is a fixed format functional fitness competition. What that means is every ath-x event within a season retains the same workouts performed in the same order. As expected, the workouts have changed for the 2024 season, and we'll get into those changes shortly. ath-x has 2 divisions, ath-x and ath-x Pro, and remains a pairs-only competition, either same-sex or mixed. 2024 entries cost £170 per team, which is a £10 increase on 2023. The season will once again culminate in the ath-x finals in Birmingham in December, likely as part of Strength in Depth's Fit Fest. The entire ath-x workout lasts approximately 2.5 hours and is split into 6 zones, 3 workout zones and 3 warm-up stroke recovery zones. The names of the workout zones will feel very familiar to those with a CrossFit background, with strength, endurance and Metcon X zones. And speaking of CrossFit, in my opinion, ath-x still feels more attuned to those with more of a CrossFit stroke functional fitness type background than perhaps its biggest competitor, hyrox. It has more of what I would call technical movements included in the workouts. I personally think to execute these in the safest manner, participants would benefit from some past experience, certainly for those movements with an Olympic barbell. ath-x has become very popular very quickly, with events now beginning to sell out well in advance. This will be a familiar tale for those experienced with trying to get places at things like hyrox, and I personally don't think this demand will slow down anytime soon, but it has been good to see ath-x adding extra dates as others sell out. So what are the 2024 workouts? What has changed? What has stayed the same? And what tips do I have having taken part in 2023? At this point, I'd just like to say thank you to the ath-x organisers for allowing me to use their movement standard clips in this video, but also to say this video is independent from the ath-x organisers and any views and opinions expressed here are my own. So back to the zones. As with last year, you'll begin with 30 minutes in zone 1, which is called the warm-up zone. I would recommend using this time very wisely, stretch well, and build up through your lighter sets for the strength movements. Based on experience, I would recommend getting into the strength zone well on your way to reaching your rep maxes for the movements, maybe working up to 80% in the warm-up zone. And this neatly links us into the first workout, which is the strength zone. Like last year, this year you have 16 to 18 minutes in this zone, depending on the division you are in. The open division has 2 sets of 8 minutes to complete 2 movements. In the pro division, you'll have 3 sets of 6 minutes to complete 3 movements. The pros start with their extra movement in the opening 6 minutes, a 1 rep max weighted pull-up, with each member of the team setting a 1 rep max. The rep starts in a dead hang with feet off the ground, with arms fully extended, and you can use any style of grip as long as your chin breaks the horizontal plane of the bar, and that is when the rep will be credited. Next up is a 3 rep max shoulder to overhead. The open division does this between the beginning and 8 minutes, and the pros do this between 6 and 12 minutes. You can perform any movement that gets the Olympic bar from a racked position on your shoulders to being locked out over your head. According to the movement standards, this can be a push press, a push jerk, or a split jerk. The rep starts in the front rack position. Each rep is counted when the barbell is fully locked out overhead, with arms, hips and legs extended. You can cycle the bar so long as the bar returns to the front rack position between each rep. You cannot release the bar or place the bar back onto the rack during the 3 reps Otherwise, you'll have to start that set again. The final move of the strength zone is a 5 rep max deadlift. This is taken from the ground into a standing position, shoulders behind the bar, hips locked out, and a controlled return to the ground. Like the shoulder to overhead, the 5 reps need to be performed in series without releasing the bar. The hands need to be outside of the knees, so sumo deadlifts are not allowed here. My tips for the strength zone would be not to spend precious time or use up your energy in this zone repping through easier weights. As I've said earlier, that should be what the warm-up zone is for. I would also not recommend doing too many sets, which will compromise your body for the later zones. I would personally say 3 sets max per movement. I would use the first set as your banker, a second set at your max, and reserve a third set if you are feeling good on the day and think you can go over that. Go into the zone with a game plan. Know in advance through your training what you would expect to hit with the weights rather than discovering this on the day. And as last year, you then enter the refuel zone for 10 minutes. This time passes quickly, so I would recommend getting out of the strength zone as soon as possible to maximize the recovery time you have before the next workout. You'll have the opportunity to try out some products from sponsors in this zone, but personally, I would use the time to adequately stretch and prepare for the endurance zone. I am a bit particular when it comes to nutrition and hydration. Some things work great for me and some things don't. So I generally follow the mantra of nothing new on race day and stick to what I know works for me. I mainly use this time to change into some running shoes and some lighter kit for the endurance zone and to try and go through my typical pre-run warm-up routine before entering the endurance zone. Now this is where there have been no changes to the workout equipment or distances compared to 2023, but there is a significant change to the rules which, depending on your tactics, make this a very different workout to 2023. The workout is split into 2 parts, each teammate working simultaneously on part A or B with a 25-minute time cap. In part A, you'll need to run 5 kilometers or as far as you can in 25 minutes on a curved treadmill. While on part B, you'll need to complete a trio of distances on Concept 2 equipment, 1K on the ski erg, 2K on the rower, and 5K on the bike. Last year, teammates could split the work as they like within the 25-minute window, coming off the ergs as and when you like. Alternatively, one partner could run the entire 5K with the other doing all the erg work, which is what me and my wife did, with me taking the full 5K run and my wife staying on the ergs. This year, teammates must swap between the Concept 2 ergs and the curved runner once the distance has been completed on the particular erg, so after 1K on the ski or 2K on the rower. Swapping is no longer optional. This means athlete 1 will run, row 2 kilometers and run again. Athlete 2 will ski 1 kilometer, run, and then go onto the bike. Once an athlete has finished the 5K on the bike or 5K on the runner, they can help their partner with the remaining distance that is left on either machine. This rule change completely changes my approach to the workout. I'll still likely do the lion's share of the running, but it means I'll have to put in a bit of time training on the rower to get a good 2K split time. Some tips for this section of the workout based on my experience last year. As I was staying on the runner for the full distance or duration, I wore my lightest, most responsive running shoes. Planning to take the majority of the run again this year, that is still what I will probably do in terms of my kit choice. Also, just a couple of extra things I did last year. I also took a hand towel with me and put it over the handles of the runner so I could occasionally just wipe my face during the run. Additionally, I also had a small 250ml silicone soft water bottle with some water and electrolytes in and had it in a running belt as there wasn't anywhere on the runner to store a bottle. Being an indoor event, things can get hot, but the air can also get really dry. I learnt this during my experience at Hyrox, that just having something to sip on to just keep your mouth and throat from drying out can be really beneficial. Once again, I would likely repeat this tactic given my planned tactic of spending the majority of the workout on the runner. And then following this, you will enter the recovery zone for 30 minutes. Compared to the refuel zone's 10 minutes, 30 minutes here means you can take a little bit more time to rest and compose yourself for the final zone. Last year, I used this time to change clothes and my shoes, stretch out a bit and record a bit of an update for my vlog, but that 30 minutes goes quickly. Last year, we also received a briefing about movement standards for the Metcon zone during this time, but in all honesty, with everything happening and music still pumping out for the waves that were currently competing, this briefing was almost impossible to hear. I would recommend familiarising yourself in advance with the structure of the workout and the movement standards rather than relying on this briefing. And then we move into the final zone of the day, the Metcon X Zone. This is probably the biggest change from the 2023 event, and I don't know if some of it might be motivated by taking up less floor space. Last year, there were 80-metre sandbag carries and 20-metre burpee broad jumps, requiring you to have a 20-metre lane. You spent a decent amount of time of the workout moving up and down that lane. This year, there are no such movements requiring you to move across the floor. Last year, there were also some differences between the open and the pro division in terms of the movements, such as double arm dumbbell snatches for the pros and single arm snatches for the open division. There was also a requirement for the line facing burpees for the pros to be done in synchro, whilst this synchronicity wasn't required for the open division. This year, the movement standards are the same, regardless of the division you are in. The only difference is the weight of some of the objects and the height of the boxes, which I will show in the video graphics. So for 2024, the Metcon X workout with a 30-minute time limit is as follows. You start with 50 box jump overs, sharing the work as you like. Both feet must be on top of the box at the same time, but stepping up and stepping down is allowed. This is as long as at some point both feet are simultaneously on top of the box. Then we move on to 10 synchronized burpees. Both athletes' chests must simultaneously be in contact with the ground at the bottom of the movement. Synchronicity isn't required getting down into the grounded position or back up, but must be grounded at the same time. Coming up from the grounded position, athletes must reach arms over their head, effectively clapping whilst jumping into an upright position with knees and arms fully extended, leaving the floor. Then it is 40 sandbag squats, sharing the work as you like. The rep starts with the sandbag in a bear hug position in front of the chest, standing tall with knees and hips extended. The sandbag must remain above the hips for the duration of the rep, with arms around the bag, not cradling underneath the bag. Then you squat, ensuring the crease of the hip is below the knee, commonly known as below parallel. Then you return to full extension, ensuring the athlete doesn't use the legs to rest the bag or provide any assistance. Unlike the barbell moves earlier, you can drop the bag at the end of a rep and pick it back up when ready, or swap over to your partner. It is then 10 more synchronized burpees before moving to 30 sandbag ground to shoulder, sharing the work as you like. Here you pick the bag up from the ground to a fully locked out knees and hips position, extending the free arm and showing control at the top of the rep. There is no requirement to alternate shoulders. Dropping the bag from the top position is allowed, or you can go touch and go as long as the bag makes contact with the ground between each rep. You then perform 10 more synchronized burpees before moving on to 20 synchronized single arm dumbbell shoulder to overhead. The movement starts with the dumbbell at the shoulder with the hand below the ears. Press, push jerk, and split jerk are all allowable movements to get the dumbbell over your head. The synchronicity happens at the top of the rep with arms, hips and legs locked out with the dumbbell over your head. The rest of the movement does not need to be synchronized. Dumbbells must be placed on the floor. Dropped dumbbells will result in a no rep. Alternating arms is allowed, but it is not a requirement. You then move on to 10 more synchronized burpees before then doing 10 synchronized single arm dumbbell snatches. The movement here starts with the dumbbell on the ground with both heads of the dumbbell in contact with the floor. The dumbbell must be lifted from the ground to overhead in one motion. Clean and jerking is not allowed. The rep is credited when arms, hips and knees are fully extended with the dumbbell locked out in the middle of the athlete's body when viewed from a profile position. Both heads of the dumbbell must touch the floor between reps. Synchronicity is once again at the top of the rep. Athletes do not have to use the same arms as their partner, and alternating arms is not a requirement. And the final movement is 10 more synchronized burpees. Last year, the Metcon X workout took my wife and I 11 minutes and 33 seconds, with the top teams in the open division typically being about 7 to 8 minutes and the pro division about 10 to 11 minutes. The slower teams in the open division taking between 15 and 25 minutes and the pro division taking around 15 to 20 minutes. On the face of it, the 2024 workout looks tougher than the 2023 one. There are a lot more burpees for both divisions. I would personally prefer the sandbag carries. The rest of the work rate looks quite similar to 2023. The movements are similar, and where movements were split as you like between teammates in 2023 but are synchronized in 2024, the number of reps have reduced. I imagine, like last year, this will be a sprint with the top teams going well under 10 minutes. But we shall see when the 2024 season kicks off in April at London's Excel. So, what do you think of ath-x 2024? Did you compete in 2023? And what are your thoughts on the changes for 2024? Are you planning on taking on ath-x for the first time this year? And also let me know if you have any comments or any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. If you've liked this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to my channel. I'll see you next time. See ya.